in addition to their like grave sucking that you mentioned, they have fire tunnels. They have the Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry that gets into all
The
kinds
Bethel
of.
School of Wizardry and Witchcraft,
Yeah, it's like a
also known as
theological
Hogwarts.
Hogwarts. Yeah,
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 right,
it's a theological. It's kind of a Christianized version of what's his
right.
name? Yeah,
Harry
I can't even
Potter.
remember.
Yeah,
Harry
Harry
Potter. There you
Potter.
go.
I got you.
So, but they also have a very low view of Christ. Their Christology is very errant. They get into the Kenosis, the belief that
Hmm.
Jesus completely divested himself of deity while he
Right.
was on earth. And
And
that
why,
is
real
a,
quick, why do they do that, Justin? Because you and I both know there's a really specific reason why they want to, if we could speak to their intentions, not just what they do, but why they do it, there's a really specific reason why they want this Jesus who has to ask for certain people's forgiveness, which absolutely is blasphemous, or this Jesus who completely empties himself, divests himself of his divinity, and this emphasis on the kenosis. What is their intent? What are they trying to accomplish by kind of getting Jesus small, making him small?
yeah. Well, they make Jesus small because they want to make man big, and
Hmm.
they believe that if you are a Christian, then you stand on equal footing with Christ. That you have
Mm.
all the rights, all the privileges of Jesus. You can do greater works than these, which they totally take out of context. You're just like Jesus. You have all the authority. You have all the power that he did. Uh, and so, in fact, I don't have it in front of me, so I might not get this 100% a direct quote, but it's going to be real close if it's not. Bill Johnson has said that Jesus is the most normal Christian who ever lived. The most normal Christian who ever lived. So, if you're a Christian, hey, you're just like Jesus.
Right.
All the rights, all the privileges. So they have to knock him down to elevate us to be on the same plane as he is.
And specifically with the supernatural, with the gifts of the Spirit, like Jesus, the most normal. So what they don't want to happen in that ultra charismatic kind of word of faith movement, what they don't want to happen is they don't want you to look at Jesus and say, well, that's Jesus, which you and I would say frequently. We would say, well, that's Jesus. But that's what they don't want to happen. They don't want people, in their mind, they would be thinking, if anyone who's saying, well, that was Jesus, is making, in their mind, an excuse. And so when they say the most normal life, that's really intentional language Bill Johnson is using. So what he's saying is, rather than seeing Jesus as the God-man exception to all of humanity, far and above, rather we look at him as the normative, and yet, yes, it's true. Like, we view Christ as the standard in terms of his holiness, his doctrine, what he preached, what he taught, what he did, how he lived. We look at him as the standard, but there's a difference in saying Christ is the standard versus saying Christ is the norm. And when you say Christ is the norm, what you're ultimately trying to accomplish is anybody who's not going around doing miracles a dozen times a day, that's abnormal. That's abnormal. And so it's a way of creating a culture where not only is the miraculous permissible or emphasized, but you're actually now ostracized and even demonized if you're not thinking about, talking about, and attempting, whatever that looks like, the miraculous on a daily basis, because that's been set as the not the standard of holiness, but the standard of what's normative. And so anything outside, and so it's a way of just kind of trying to say, I've heard Bill Johnson say before, he has what does he call it? I have a Jesus theology, or a theology of Jesus. Anything that. How does he say that, Justin? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, various iterations of that, but his basic error is that he believes that, for example, when Jesus gave us the model prayer, "Our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Bill Johnson extrapolates from that that on earth as it is in heaven, that whatever heaven is like, we should have here on earth. And that's kind of like the foundation for his theology on healing. He says there, in fact, I have this in my seminar. He said, there's no cancer in heaven. There should be no cancer here on earth, even though his own wife has cancer. I don't know the status of it. Benny Johnson was diagnosed with cancer several years ago. I don't know what the status of it is now. I mean, she's still alive. I know that, but anyway, he says there's no cancer in heaven. There should be no cancer on earth. There's no sickness up in heaven. There should be no sickness on earth. And he says this as he's wearing eyeglasses.
Right.
And I thought, it's like, okay, there's no eyeglasses in heaven either, but yet you got a pair of them sitting on your nose right now. Not you, but I mean, you do, but Bill Johnson does. I do. But I mean, so you see how quickly it breaks down. So it's this over-realized eschatology.
Yeah.
Over-realized eschatology. They believe that everything that we are promised in the eschaton should be realized here and now. And that's just not true. And I might also point out that there is no marriage in heaven either.
Right.
When you get to heaven, you're not going to be married to your wife. When I get to heaven, I'm not going to be married to Kathy. And yet he's married to Benny. Right. So I mean, you see how quickly
he's not living in a very heavenly manner. So no, you're right. It breaks down very quickly, and it's sad because you're right. It's an over-realized eschatology, but it's also a truncated over-realized eschatology because it's all focused. So much of it is focused on physical health, and wealth, but especially with Bethel, physical health, where it's like, man, in the new heavens and the new earth, when we are there, there's a lot more going on besides just health. Yes, we will be healthy. Yes, we will be made physically whole. We'll have glorified bodies that will never grow weary and die. But there's a whole lot more. It's the increase of his kingdom. There shall be no end. It's the perfect rule and reign of Christ. It's not just everyone's healthy. It's also there's no Joe Biden. There's no abortion. There's no there's a lot of other great things that we could speak of with this with the new heavens and the new earth. And yet theirs it's an over-realized eschatology, but also a very truncated, narrow eschatology that really only focuses on a couple elements and makes it as though it's the end all be all. So.
Right. The object of heaven, the object of they don't lift up Christ. In fact, we were just talking about how they demote Christ. So I tell people often, when I think about heaven, what captures my heart, what captures my attention, what captures my affections when I think about heaven is not being rid of my crutches. I think you can see one of them in the background right there. Not being rid of my crutches. I don't ever think about why. Yeah, I think I could just about say I don't ever think about that. I know it will be a reality, but it's not what captures my thoughts. What captures my thoughts is that I will be in the presence of Christ, knowing him fully, being able to worship him, unencumbered by sin, being in awe of his person for all of eternity. That is what I think about. Not streets of gold and supposed mansions, which is an unfortunate rendering in the King James, but that's another subject matter. Not that kind of stuff. Not having heaven as a big family reunion or all these things.
Thanks for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, we hope that you'll take a moment and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can watch more content like this. Also, take a moment and give this video a like so that it can reach more people. And take a moment and click on the bell so that you'll be notified whenever we come out with new content. Thanks so much. God bless.